establishes his promise to Isaac, Jacob, and Abraham. That's an intentional move right there. He knew that people would later question his credibility. Shame on us. Shame on us for questioning our Creator, our foundation. God is not a man that he shall lie. He writes the vision and makes it plain that he wanted Moses to go back and tell the oppressors, I am has sent me to you so that you could release our people. God is about to introduce himself as the deliverer and God the promise keeper. To Pharaoh, that is. I want to encourage you to you. It was already established. All you had to do was receive it. The seed had already been planted. The children of Israel needed to know that. That's why God addresses Moses and lets him know the name he is to use to identify him to Pharaoh and to the children of Israel. To Pharaoh, God says, I am who I am. He was introducing himself to Pharaoh. All the people of Egypt only had known was a king. They never knew of a God. But God was about to make his presence known. To the children of Israel, Yahweh had been the name. That had been the name for generations already. So, for that is where the roots are originally rooted, and God was ready to call his children back home. He knew they needed some assurance and encouragement that he is still with them. I want to encourage y'all, the foundation has already been set. You've been in the wilderness and bondage long enough. God is sending someone right here and right now to connect you back to life. To tell you to get your things, let's go. You've been here long enough. There was all a purpose in this though. And I'm going to help y'all understand this. Purpose being my last and final point. Because Moses had now become connected to God, he was now about to find out his purpose and carry out his purpose. He's about to realize everything that he went through was by purpose. It's imperative that we become connected to God so that we don't miss our purpose in life. Moses was 40 years old when he found out that he's not Egyptian, but he's a Hebrew. So Moses grew up all his life being lied to, living under one identity when he really was that of another identity. I know some of us can all relate. His people are not the heavy laborers, but the heavy labored. Then he turns around and spends another 40 years in the wilderness. Then this is where God calls him and tells him, I need you to go back. So Moses goes back, gets the people, and he's leading them to freedom. He's leading them back to God, to the promised land. And along the way, the people begin to murmur and complain. And so they get stuck. A journey that was supposed to take 11 days now takes 40 years. I don't got that kind of time. I don't see how they did it. So, mind you, when Moses began his journey, he was already 80 years old. We, at that age, would probably be like, I ain't got no time for that. Or them. I thank God for deliverance, though, because there was a bigger purpose. You're never too old to get it right and for God to use you. After all that, through the affliction Moses suffered, God was equipping him for his purpose at the same time. Many of us can only utter complaints and demands when the slightest bit of challenge rises. We have to be careful because while God is actually trying to free us and equip us, we are slowing up the process with our murmuring, our complaining, and our staggering movement. And if we are not careful, God will leave us there. This particular promise took some obedience and sacrifice on someone else's behalf. Understand, God didn't make this promise to Moses. He made it to his forefathers. So, you're about to be blessed off of someone else's obedience and sacrifice. Just receive it. These blessings were coming from someone who had suffered the sacrifice, which isn't easy. Look at Jesus, and not to mention their obedience in neglecting self and becoming subject to the will of God. I know some don't care, but I know the feeling, and I struggle sometimes. People think you do it because you have to. No, God just chose you. And because they aren't rooted, they won't ever understand the affliction that you go through. And that's okay, because you're in it for what God had called you to. You're not in it for the people. You are doing what God has called you to. And so in my conclusion, I just want to speak a little bit about what I had seen throughout the whole text. I had seen God rooting and planting Moses. He had not even known who God was before, because all he grew up knowing was King Pharaoh, which was dad to him. Now, God was taking somebody who had become an outcast, who didn't fit, who didn't belong, to stand before a nation of people and proclaim who he was. He proclaimed to the doubters truth. He led the captives to freedom and revealed his power to the unbelievers. Allow me to reintroduce my God, better yet, our God. He has greater plans for you and I of freedom to rule over the earth. I believe we have cut ourselves off from our true roots. The only someone who could nourish us and grow us into the purpose individuals we were created to be is God. And I'm here to tell you that God is here. All you have to do is receive him. Our roots are not with Pharaoh, the enemy, or any other god for that matter. No matter how long you may have been with them, how special he made you feel, your real roots are with God. You're confused because you're not rooted. You're tossed to and from religion and the concept of being woke. My God, I'm sorry but not sorry that the truth hurts, and I'm here to tell you it was all a lie. Get reconnected, and I can assure you our God, our deliverer, our waymaker, our Alpha and Omega, our beginning and end, he is the great I am, has placed his attributes inside of you. This is the reason you feel so destined but have no sense of direction.
Yes.
Man, my God. That is good.
Yes, it is.
When something is not planted, you are freely open to whatever wind or wither may come your way to blow you away, to uproot you, to send you on your way.
Yes. Come on. That's it.
Thank you, Lord.
And we wonder why we look and feel all over the place. Because once you've rejected God's message, his promise, and the messenger, now what?
Yes.
Now it is time for us to repent and turn back. Matter of fact, I can introduce some of y'all to the one and only kind and gracious Father, the one and only who has waited to catch you in this moment so he could tell you to leave those dead roots alone and receive new life. We, as the children of God, the daughter and the sons of God, need to get back connected. God has not forgotten about us. We have forgotten about him. We don't want to be connected because it will cause too much discipline. It will cause too much of us moving out of our own way, submitting to the will of God. That some things. And I think we in the body of Christ have gotten somewhat kind of weak. We don't want to go through nothing. We don't want to feel nothing, especially at the expense of someone else's. But you don't even know why God has called you to be the sacrifice. Why God has called you to lay on the altar, to burn you, to crucify you. It was so that all the people could be free. God did not bring you to where you are for you to just keep going. The intent for Moses was to go back and get the people that he was with, to go get the people, his people, that he was intentionally trying to save from jump. Once he really found out that them was his people, these people rejected him. They talked about him. They told on him. When he killed the Egyptian, beating his Hebrew brother, the Egyptian said to him, "Are you going to kill me like you killed that Egyptian yesterday?" And so Moses ran because he was scared that it was going to get to Pharaoh. And here it is, God has spoken to Moses in his wilderness and tells him he got to go back and free these same people that have persecuted him. Then he has to turn around and go through wilderness with them again for another 40 years. And because of their complaining and murmuring, Moses chose to listen to that instead of listening to God. We have to be so careful in this season that we are not listening to the complaining and the murmuring, but that we are speaking life. God had revealed himself to Moses. So Moses knew where he was planted. Moses had knew now where he was grounded and rooted. And now it was Moses' turn to go back and free the people. Now it was Moses' turn to go back and bring the people to where God had brought him. Amen.
Amen.
I just want to encourage you all to be rooted. Be encouraged. Be strengthened. It's okay to be the sacrifice.
That's
It's
it.
okay to hurt. In that affliction, the Bible says, "In my weakness, God is made strong." When I think about that scripture, I think even in my affliction, God, even where you are breaking me, even where they are walking all over me, God, you still are made strong, God. So I'll continue to lift up my voice to you, God. I'll continue to praise you, God, because I knew this moment right here, God, was intentional, God. It wasn't to kill me and leave me there, God, but it was because you had a greater purpose, God, for me to go back and free the people who couldn't get free themselves. See, understand, there are some people in our lives who are dealing with issues that they don't know how to get free from. So it's our job, once we have walked into that freedom, once we have stepped into that new place and that new life, it's our job to go back and give life. It's our job to go back and pull them into life. Amen. 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 So, if I could encourage anybody here today to receive life, I'm saying receive life. Life is going to flow through you and you. Amen. Amen.
Let's give God some praise, everybody. Amen. Come on, let's put our hands together for that phenomenal word. Amen. For that phenomenal word. I heard a reintroduction taking place. And I truly believe that in this season that God is trying to reintroduce himself to people who have lost their way or who are lost, period. We have been lost by religion. We have been lost by tradition. We have been lost by our own judgment, by hate and malice that is in our heart. And God said, listen, I want to reintroduce myself because I believe in this season too many of us are following the ways of man and not of God. Too many of us are even following the ways of the church, which is absent of God. And we got to get back to the place where we know who God is. The great I am. We know what that means. The I am that saved me. The I am that delivered you. The I am that healed you. The I am who is making a way out of no way. It is important that we understand that when God is reintroducing himself to us, and I thank Minister Jarasha for that word, because what God is saying is, once you get connected to me, you become my vessel. And what I need you to understand at this very minute, the moment you become connected to God, you no longer belong to you. And everything that God says to you is because he wants you to say it to somebody else. Understand that the message that God was giving to Moses, he said, go tell Pharaoh. Then he gave him another message and said, now go tell Israel. God will give you a message for the enemy and for his people. He'll tell you to tell the enemy, my God said. And he'll have you tell the people, my God, our God said. We have to understand and not get those things mixed up. What you said, Bishop, I needed to interject here. I heard her, but I didn't want nobody to get confused. So give me 30 seconds to share this. Some of y'all done got the message confused. Because the message that God gave you for the enemy, you using on the church. God didn't give you that word to come and attack the people of God. That word was for the enemy, for the devil, for the liar, for the dragon, for the snake. You using it on your brother and sister. God got a word for them, but it ain't the word that you're using. That word was for the enemy. But because you ain't never been able to separate the spiritual realm from the worldly realm, you ain't never been able to see who the enemy is. The Bible says you wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual principalities and wickedness in high places. You keep thinking the word is for your brother or sister, but it's for the principality that keep operating over the house, that keep operating over your brothers and sisters. Stop attacking them with the word of God and attack the demons that are operating, the principality that keep trying to consume us, the lie that keep trying to entwine itself.
Praise God.
I don't know who I'm talking to in here, but discernment is everything.
Yes, it is. Come on.
Because you don't have good discernment, you think everybody your enemy. And you the sole one that's walking with God.
Jesus.
But the Bible, that would be against the word of God. God said, one can chase away 1,000, but I'm going to connect you to somebody because two can chase away 10,000. The Bible is clear. God never intended you to be by yourself, walk by yourself, pray by yourself, minister by yourself. But that was a selfish pride of man that thought, I don't need nobody. I can do this all by myself. A spirit of manipulation and deception that the enemy has dropped in our spirit. And in this season, what I think I heard Minister Jarasha says is, we need to get back to our roots. No matter how long you've been outside of the presence of God. She didn't say this, but I'm going to say this. You gotta remember, Israel was without a voice of God for over 400 years. They have been oppressed by Pharaoh. Watch this. In Egyptian, Pharaoh was God. They have become to know, and watch this, a worldly God, and forgot all about the God of Israel. This is why God said to Moses, I am the God of your father Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He wanted him to think back. You may not know me, but I know you heard the testimony. Now y'all missing it. Somebody you connected to may not know the God you know, but they know your testimony. They know you said, if it had not been for God, I might have lost my mind. If it had not been for God, I might still be in prison. If it had not been for God, I might be dead and rotting in my grave. If it had not been for God. So what Moses' assignment was to go tell a testimony that the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is speaking again. And I don't know who I'm saying this to, but before you leave this afternoon, I want to tell you, the God of Israel is speaking again. And y'all are running your mind right. You should have lost your mind. The God of Israel, the father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is speaking again. He's not just speaking to me, he's speaking to you. And he's speaking to you, and he's speaking to you, and he's speaking to you, and you, and you. He's speaking. Because he needs you to go share a word. See, I might not go back into your household. But there's somebody in this room right now that need to go back home and give a word to the people they live with, the people they connected to. Maybe you need to go back into your workplace on Monday morning and say, God told me to tell you a word. Maybe you need to go back to your block and say, God told me to tell you a word. Maybe you need to go back to your homie's house. Maybe the next time he called you to get in your...
That's it.
You need to give him a word. He said, God told me to tell you that he's back. And he's reintroducing himself. He's coming back. And he's coming back with power. He's coming back with authority to claim those who know him. To claim those that he called his own. I don't know who I'm talking to in here today. But if there's anybody in here today that believes Jesus Christ, that you've been connected to the kingdom of heaven, if you just believe that you are God's very own, could you just stand on your feet? I just want to know who I'm among. Now listen, don't stand because you don't want to be embarrassed.